Hi everyone, welcome back to East Coast Haunts.
I'm Sam.
And I'm MK, and today we are going to be talking about a Philadelphia haunt.
A very colonial haunt, actually.
Yes. I would highly recommend probably waiting to visit this landmark. I wouldn't go and visit it in the next 2 weeks because Philadelphia
is
literally going to be a madhouse.
Yeah. If the Eagles win or if the Eagles lose, I think either way it's going to be crazy.
The city's going to burn either way. So
yeah.
Just, for all of you historical fans out there that aren't big football fans, or Eagles fans, I should say.
These aren't the 2 weeks to go.
You know what? Save your visit for March.
Although that's a little hypocritical because I think you will be in Philadelphia, no?
Fingers crossed. I mean, I'm just kind of like, I'm doing whatever my friend group wants to do, and they're kind of gung-ho about going to Broad Street.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I told you, I'm not an Eagles fan. I just root for them so that the majority of my friends will be happy.
So they won't disown you, yeah.
Yeah, but
I remember when I was a freshman in college, and I was at school in Philly.
Oh, God.
The Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Oh, God.
And, I feel like I remember looking out of, my dorm window and, hundreds of kids were, people ran to the city.
Yeah. Wait.
Or maybe I made that up. Maybe they didn't run to the city, because that would be,
that's a good few miles.
Yeah.
No.
But
it's
they would
not
have to be running on the highways. But it was that crazy. I would not be surprised.
Well, my favorite Philadelphia thing that they do is they grease the poles so that people can't climb it.
Yes.
They did that actually at Villanova. They greased them when we were in the Final Four so that kids wouldn't. Philadelphians are crazy, man. I love you guys, but you are crazy.
They're, I think, the best sports fans. They're so into it. I love it.
Best or
they're the most enthusiastic sports fans.
I will say they are passionate about their sports teams.
That's fair.
And you know what? They had a tough loss this year in the World Series, so I am rooting for them.
You're right.
Yeah.
I know. I was actually rooting for them in the World Series, too.
I don't really care about the Chiefs. Sorry. Not sorry.
Patrick Mahomes or whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to root for the East Coast team, I think.
Yeah. And
right?
plus we both went to school in Philly, so it's
we got a little bit of a connection. So, without further ado...
We're so sporty.
I know. That's the second podcast that we've opened up talking about sports, but neither of us are really
I really don't know
sports fans.
anything, yeah.
I know mostly just because I hear my dad and my boyfriend talk about it.
And I know mostly because I hear you, you. Because you
vaguely
explain it to me,
yeah. Yeah, so we can talk about our haunt now.
Yes, because it is in Philadelphia, and it is the
Betsy Ross house.
Good old Betsy Ross.
So Sam, do you know what Betsy Ross is best known for?
I do. She, I believe, was the flag maker of the American flag.
Yes. So she is credited with partially designing the flag.
And also being the one to sew it, right?
Yes. More so to sew it, but she did have a hand in the design.
Okay.
So the story goes. There's a little bit of controversy that I'm going to get into.
Flag drama.
Yeah, which I'm like, come on, really? But anyway, we saw the Michaela TikTok lash drama.
Yeah, if there can be drama over mascara, there can be drama over the nation's flag.
The nation's flag. But it's been a little bit of a rough week for both Sam and I, so we were excited to record this episode. Yeah.
We've had,
So, anyway, let's just get into it.
Yeah,
so, the Betsy Ross house is located at 239 Arch Street in Philadelphia. So, like I said, maybe steer clear of that for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's also closed on Tuesdays, so just if you're planning on visiting, keep that in mind. It is located in Philly's Old City neighborhood in the Historic District, which is kind of a given.
Fun.
Right?
Yeah, that is a given, I guess.
And I think first, let's tell the story of the house's namesake.
Okay.
So, Betsy Ross was born on January 1st, so New Year's Day, in 1752. She was born in Gloucester City, New Jersey. Gloucester. To Rebecca and Samuel Griscom. Guess how many siblings she had?
Well, this is the 1700s, so I'll guess 9.
She had 16 siblings.
That poor mother.
Could you imagine?
16?
16 siblings. She was raised and educated as a Quaker in Pennsylvania, though.
Oh, cool.
So she went to a Quaker private school.
Okay.
And she learned reading and writing, which was kind of like not super...
out of the ordinary for women, yeah.
Not super common back then. And they also got to pick a trade, and her chosen trade was sewing.
Okay, cool.
So then her father got her an apprenticeship at a local upholsterer, and there her first little love fling begins. I will say that this is like a very cute love story.
A nice meet
and
cute.
I think it's like kind of nice with Valentine's Day coming up. Like it's a nice little romantic story.
Well, she'd been married a lot, right? So maybe this is perfect for Valentine's Day.
She met her first love there.
Okay.
His name was John Ross, and he was also working for the upholsterer. That's where she got her last name.
Aww.
Betsy Ross. And she fell in love with him, and they soon decided that they were going to get married. But the only thing that was wrong with that, or not wrong, I guess, the only thing that was like a problem with that was it was an interdenominational marriage. So John Ross was not Quaker.
The scandal.
Apparently in like the Quaker religion, that is like the biggest no-no.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, like you can't marry outside your religion.
I thought Quakers were like super, super chill. But also
No. Quakers are,
I thought they were like really peaceful.
They are peaceful.
Okay.
Yeah, but that they have like stricter rules, I think.
Probably especially back then.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think Quakers exist today.
Well, what do you think Quaker oats are made out of?
Okay, wait, no. Made out of... No, okay, apparently they are now known as the Religious Society of Friends. So they do still exist, but they've rebranded.
Okay. We love a good rebrand.
But I just know that, I don't know much about Quakers, but I do know that interdenominational marriage was a big no-no.
Okay.
So they decided to elope, so they crossed the Delaware River and got married in New Jersey at Hug's Tavern.
Ooh!
But her family found out about the fact that she eloped, and it kind of caused her to split with them completely.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of disowned her. She was only 21 at the time, too.
Wow.
But the two of them went back to Pennsylvania, and they started their own upholstery company, which is, like, so cute to me.
Yeah, that's adorable.
Also, I do want to clarify that upholstery back then, now we think of it as, like, reupholstering like a piece of furniture.
Okay.
But upholstery back then was like tailoring, sewing, also doing furniture. Okay. Like it was a bigger
anything that had to do with cloth.
Yes.
Okay.
It was more like what we would think of as like a tailor now, I guess. And fun little fact, she transferred to her husband John's religion. And they ended up going to the same church as George Washington. They would always sit like a few pews away from him.
Oh, wow.
So she ended up doing tailoring for him, too.
I see. Wow, that must have been a church with a lot of famous peeps.
I know. It's kind of fun, right? In 1776, John Ross joined the Pennsylvania militia and was unfortunately mortally wounded in combat. Betsy took care of him until his dying breath, so it was like very sad. But in June of that same year, Betsy Ross met with the Committee of Three, it's called.
Okay.
So it's George Washington, George Ross, who was a relative of hers. I'm not sure what the relation was.
Okay.
And Robert Morris. And that was what led to the iconic sewing of the American flag.
Wow, okay.
So she was given a design and asked to sew the design, but she came back because originally the original design had 6-point stars instead of 5-point stars, and she demonstrated to them in this meeting that 5-point stars, first of all, look better.
Yeah. And
second of all, are way easier to cut because it's only like a few angles that you have to measure as opposed to like 6 different angles when you have to do 6-point stars.
Oh, wow, okay.
So this led to the Betsy Ross American flag, which is now known as like the original American flag design. They call it like the Betsy Ross flag. And it was 13. It looks like our American flag right now.
Yes.
If you can picture the layout, but instead of having the 50 stars for the 50 states, which obviously didn't exist back then, it had 13 stars for the 13 colonies in a circle.
Right, yes. Classic.
And then it had 13 alternating red and white stripes. So like I said, there was a little bit of controversy It's like heavily debated whether this design really was contributed to by Betsy Ross. So even if you believe the story, her contribution was like only one suggestion on the star design.
Okay.
But her relatives and her descendants, like even back then, I think it was like in 1870, they came forward and they were like, she helped design the flag. They claimed that she had a bigger hand in the designing of the flag, which...
I wouldn't be surprised if she did, and then they covered it up because, like, she's a woman, so who cares?
Honestly, regardless, it's probably likely that she did have some hand in creating this flag. And now she's a very well-known name in American history. Plus, she's like a little bit of a girl boss, so...
I'm so glad
I'm on her side. Also, I found out that there's like an area of study, and there's like people called vexillologists.
I have no idea what that is.
And they exclusively study flags. So the history, the symbology, like the colors on flags.
Wow, that is
really
like
a
cool.
whole area of study. Isn't that pretty neat?
That's really cool.
It's like a very niche area of study, but I feel like it would be really cool to talk to a vexillologist.
I would love to take a class on that or something.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool,
really
right?
Cool, yeah.
So then after Betsy Ross sewed the flag, she went back to the Free Quakers, which were a section of the Quaker religion that supported the war effort.
Okay.
So like you said, most Quakers were super peaceful and like really did not like war at all, so they didn't support the war. But these Quakers decided that it would be like in everyone's best interest to like help out with the war effort.
Okay.
So she joined with them.
So I guess she's a Quaker again now.
Yes, she is. She married again in the next year to Joseph Ashburn, and then once he passed, she married again in 1783 to John Claypool, who was actually like a little bit famous at the time because he was a British prisoner of war.
Oh, bad boy.
Yes, and he had been like taken captive, and he was a captain of a ship. He was like kind of a little bit of a hot shot.
Okay.
Altogether, she had 7 children.
Wow.
She had 2 with Joseph Ashburn and 5 with John Claypool.
Okay.
But only 5 lived till adulthood. So I think
really
1 child from Joseph and 4 from John.
That's really
lived
sad.
till adulthood, which is
I guess that probably is why they had so many kids, right?
Yeah,
because
I
only
guess
a couple
so.
were gonna live anyway.
I know, it makes me sad, but now I mean, modern advances. That's what we have to thank for better, longer lives. She died in 1836 at the age of 84 on January 30th in like the suburbs of Philly, which is pretty cool. Like that's a long life for a woman back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really long life.
And if you think back, like even if she didn't have any hand in like sewing the American flag, she made a name for herself, which is more than most women did.
I mean,
back
she
then.
co-owned a business, right?
Yes, she had an upholstery shop, and then I'm actually going to tell you about it during the house, but she did rent out that business like almost on her own.
See, so I'm like, even if she didn't design the American flag, she was also still the one that sewed it.
Yeah,
and she at least put like, I don't know.
It's I'm a big fan of Betsy.
Yeah,
Ross,
people wanna nitpick and be like, oh, but you know, she like, who cares? Like
that's what I'm
part
saying.
In it somehow. Like that's especially for a woman of that time. That's impressive.
Yeah, and you know what? We're still talking about her like 250 years later.
Yeah,
so
that's gotta count for something.
It definitely does. So now let's talk about the Betsy Ross house. The front of the house is actually the original structure, and that was built in 1740.
Wow.
And the rear was added like 10 to 20 years afterwards.
Okay.
And it's a unique style of house that wasn't super unique for the time, but it's not something that you would see today.
Okay.
It's called a Trinity and bandbox style.
It's very pretty.
It is pretty. But every floor only has 1 room, and then there's a winding staircase in the back that connects like the basement cellar area to the top floors.
I like that.
So the bottom floor would have housed a business, and the upper rooms would have been either rented out to tenants or they would have belonged to family members of the shop owner.
Okay.
The first floor has a huge window meant for displaying different types of merchandise, and this house kind of reminds me of two different things.
Okay.
Just reading about it. One is the Lizzie Borden house, because it just reminds me of that same style of house where it has, like, the staircase going up the back that connects all the floors. If you remember that.
Good memory. I didn't remember that, but now I do.
And the second thing is, it reminds me of the colonial touch room that you and I used to go to.
The Touch
Me Museum. I know.
Weird name.
Yeah. You know.
But we loved the Touch Me Museum.
Oh, yes, we did. It was part of Winterthur.
Yeah.
Winterthur, I guess it's like a preservation.
Garden / preservation, historical
Arboretum
site. Yeah.
Type. Yes. It is gorgeous if you ever get the chance to go. It's in Pennsylvania. But they have, like, this whole section for children.
And it's like...
And it's all, like, colonial toys and, like, tea sets and costumes.
Fake
that you
food.
can go. Yes. There's, like, a fake shop that you can sell, like...
Yeah, and there was, like, the fake dining room.
Yes! And,
like, serve food to our grandparents. Oh, that was so fun.
Back in the day. And they had those, like, the fire bellows that it, like, almost looks like an accordion that you used to, like, fan the fire.
Like, why was that so fun for us?
I don't know. I don't know why that's the part that's stuck in my head either, but anyway, this house reminds me of the Touch Me Museum because it's kind of in that same time period. So throughout the 18th century, there were many different businesses that took up residence in the house. So there was a shoemaker, an apothecary, and then, of course, upholstery. And that was owned by Betsy Ross, and she likely lived in the house between 1776 and 1779.
So she really did live there?
Yes,
okay.
She did. And so that was right towards the end, I guess, probably right when John Ross died and she got married to Joseph Ashburn.
Okay. So after her first husband died.
Yes.
And, okay, got
it. She rented the shop and one bedroom from a widow named Hannah Lithgow. But in the 19th century, the house switched ownership when a German immigrant family named the Munns came in.
Okay.
And they bought the house. The house then became a tailor's shop, so not very different than
I was going to say, staying in the same vein.
Then a cigar store, and then a tavern. In 1876, it was determined to be the place of residence of Betsy Ross, because there was, like, some debate about it, but then they found record of her actually living there. And many believe that that was the place that she sewed the very first version of the American flag.
Oh. Well, yeah, the timeline lines up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So the Munn family began kind of taking advantage of this as, like, a sightseeing opportunity. Yeah. So they would always advertise, and they'd be like, tavern, and also come see the place where the American flag was born. And then in 1898, historic societies and citizens in the area were scared that it would be torn down because a lot of, like, pre-revolutionary buildings had been torn down in the area. So they worked together to establish it as a memorial and purchase it from the Munns and then restore it and open it as a museum.
Wow.
One of the founding members, Charles Weisgerber, moved into the upper floors with his family during restoration. But then, unfortunately, the Great Depression hit and work on the house was delayed.
Okay.
In 1937, though, the house underwent some structural deterioration. So it spurred renewed restoration efforts from historical architects. And then all 8 rooms opened to the public as a museum on June 14th, 1937.
Okay.
And do you know what June 14th is?
I'm not gonna lie, I saw your notes, so I know what it is.
Oh, no!
But I would have had no idea.
So June 14th is Flag Day.
Yes.
Which I thought was, like, that's, like, so cute, isn't it? I love it when they do.
Is it Flag Day because, like, which came first?
I think Flag Day commemorates when the Continental Congress, they passed a resolution, like, modernizing the design of our flag. Okay. I believe.
That's so boring.
I know. They really could have, they really had a chance to make it cool, and they didn't, but whatever. And so then the renovations continued into, like, the 20th century, and now the house is how we know it today. At the house, you can see the recreation of the upholstery shop and, like, period-style rooms.
Love that.
18th century reproductions of like furniture and different like belongings around the house.
So it's not the exact, but it's reproduced.
There is an original like walnut chest.
Okay.
And a chair belonging to Betsy Ross that are displayed there.
Ooh.
And then this struck me as so cute. Her eyeglasses and her Bible are still there.
Wow.
Like, isn't that so cute? There's something about her glasses still being there.
Yeah.
That, like, for some reason, that just kind of struck me as, like, so freaking cute. Like,
because it makes you picture, like, this 80-year-old little old lady.
Just, like
living
sewing away at some stars.
Like, what a sweetie.
I know.
I wonder how they got them, though, because, I mean, I don't know. I guess then they brought them back to the house since she only lived there for a couple years, right?
I guess so, yeah. I don't know.
But honestly, she seems like she had a hard life. I mean,
I know.
2 of her husbands dying, like that's really sad.
And 2 of her children dying too.
And 2 of her kids.
And getting disowned from your family at the age of 21.
Yeah, wow, she really did.
She went through it.
She lived through the Revolutionary War.
And watched her first husband die.
Oh, man. Poor Betsy.
I know. I feel so bad for her.
But she has cemented her place in history.
She sure has. That she has.
And it's like a very good legacy. Like, I have never heard anything problematic about Betsy Ross.
No, me either.
Hopefully we won't hear anything after this.
I know. Hopefully. Just let us live in our ignorant bliss.
Our Betsy Ross bliss.
So, I do believe this house is haunted.
I do believe it's haunted too.
Interesting.
I would hope so.
No, we're just here to give you a lesson on the Betsy Ross house.
So, yes, it is very haunted. It's actually considered one of the most haunted places in Philadelphia, which is saying something because Philadelphia is very haunted, as we know.
You have a lot of haunted places in Philly.
Also, now that I'm talking and I like hear myself, I have a cold. I can hear how annoying I sound. If you want to literally skip ahead, I don't even blame you. But anyway, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Philly Ghosts website, which is where I got a lot of this information from.
Philly Ghosts.
So, we're going to start off, the first haunt that we're going to talk about, it actually isn't from the 1700s or the 1800s. It's actually from 1980.
Oh, okay. So recent.
Like, yeah, fairly recent.
Recent guy.
So, in 1980, there were 2 security guards who would, like, stay overnight at the home. You know how there's, like, a gift shop and, like, you know, it's a place, so they have to have security there.
Right.
There was an altercation between the 2 security guards. And apparently this altercation happened in the basement, which is where the gift shop is located. Okay. Mm-hmm. We don't know what caused the fight.
I'm so curious.
I know. I'm like, it was in the gift shop, so I was trying to think, like, I don't know.
Maybe someone was like fooling around with the merchandise.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, knock it off.
Yeah, maybe like one was really serious and one was like not. Like, but it got really heated, whatever it was about. And one of the guards pulled out his gun, which, if you're a security guard for the Betsy Ross house, aren't you a little surprised that they have guns?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, arm them with like a taser, but do you really need a gun?
In the Betsy Ross house?
That's...
let them steal the merchandise. Like, that's not...
It's not that deep,
Yeah. It was never that serious.
It was never that serious.
Well, unfortunately, they thought it was that serious because the fight got really heated and one of the guards pulled out his gun and shot the other guard 3 times.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of overkill.
I'm like, I feel as if that was an overreaction.
I feel like it might have been.
So then the one guard leaves, leaving the other one overnight to, like, die.
That's horrible.
I know. I mean, I'm assuming he probably died pretty quickly, but either way, I mean, horrible.
But still, like, if you think that was, like, a moment of passion, what do you call that?
A crime of passion.
A crime of passion.
Where he, like, lost control.
For, like, a second, and then you would think that after he had killed him, he would have come to and been like, oh my god, what have I done?
Let me call an ambulance.
Yeah.
I don't know what this guy's deal was.
He left it overnight, though.
I know. So that was a very, very weird occurrence that happened. And since then, visitors claim that they hear disembodied voices coming from that area, like the basement gift shop area.
Oh, that's creepy.
Creepy, right? I mean, a gift shop is like probably the least scariest place.
Yeah.
Like, buy this. But sorry, I was so bad. But people hear voices. They hear like clamoring and people moving around down there. So definitely a little bit spooky, but nothing too crazy.
Okay.
now we're going to talk about the parlor of the home. This is where Betsy was said to have met with the U.S. Flag Committee, which I believe are the people that you were talking about with, like, George Washington and those two other guys, right?
Yeah, George Morris and George Ross.
Too many Georges.
I know.
Yes, so when she met with them, apparently it was in the parlor of the house. And people, when they are taking tours in the house, when they stop at the parlor, people say that they feel a dark and foreboding presence in the room.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Kind of weird, right? I'm like, what happened in that room?
You might not want to visit this house because, Sam, do you want to tell the listeners what you were afraid of when you were a kid?
Oh my gosh, I would love to. I was a very odd child, a very disturbed child. I had a lot of really weird fears, and probably one of my biggest fears, if not the biggest, was I was terrified of George Washington. You had to flip over dollar bills so I wouldn't see him. I was scared of his wooden teeth. Well, some accounts say he had wooden teeth, and some accounts say he had hippopotamus teeth.
And some say now recently, I
that
think.
that enslaved people, they would take their teeth
and
like,
give them
dentures.
to George Washington.
So all three horrifying options.
Yeah.
But the thought of the wooden teeth in particular, I was horrified.
I wonder why that, like,
I don't know. And like the hippopotamus
got you.
teeth, like I can't even tell you the feeling that like even like honestly talking about it now, like I get this like horrible like gut wrenching like feeling of like disgust and like I'm so scared. Like the hippo teeth. Oh my god, it was so scary. Anyway, so I hated George Washington. Like I literally hated him.
I remember my mom being like, don't bring up George Washington to Sam, and I was like, why? She was like, that's her new fear. Just like,
there was always, and honestly, like, I'm pretty sure, like, in like history class, I had to like leave once. Like, I was a freak. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me, but God bless my parents. Like, something was going on there. But anyway, so I honestly don't. I'm not surprised that there was a dark
foreboding presence might have been George Washington.
It was his wooden / hippopotamus teeth smiling back at me.
Ew.
So dark and foreboding presence in the parlor. Really airing me out like that.
I'm sorry, I had
to.
No,
it's the people
we
have to know.
We talked about my irrational fear of the Jersey Devil.
You know,
the people
we
had to
did.
know.
We did.
The
You're
people
right.
had to know.
So, regardless, there are also basic haunts around the house. There's like rustling, people hear voices like all around the house.
The classics,
you know, the OGs. There's also a very interesting story. So, the attic of the house, it now functions as the director's office.
Interesting.
But in the past, you know, it's been an attic, it's been rooms, it's been a lot of things in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's the director's office, and so one day a director was, you know, in there directing, doing their thing and whatnot, and the director felt a hand grab onto her shoulder, like really roughly.
Oh my gosh.
And it sounded like from the story, it sounded like it was like a man's hand, like just like the way they were describing
creepy.
it.
Yeah.
And she was super freaked out. But obviously she's in the attic, like she can't.
Yeah.
She climbed out the window, and she climbed onto the flagpole outside. Which like it reminds me of that scene in the Jungle Cruise where like the people are like on that pole.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? That's what I was like
yeah.
picturing. I was picturing her like holding onto the pole like that.
Imagine like being an employee there, just like working in the gift shop for minimum wage, and you come out like your boss is like hanging from the flagpole. I'd quit on the spot.
Especially if she was like wearing colonial garb.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna head out. And apparently one of the former owners died in the attic. So you know, could it have been that person like still haunting the area? I wonder if it was one of those German people.
Oh, the Muns?
Yeah,
maybe.
So
they did own it for a while.
Right? So I'm like, I don't know.
It was like in the family for a while.
Kind of interesting. But anyway, I thought that was a creative way. Sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, if there was a fire, I hope I'm not like putting this out into the universe.
Don't. It's okay.
Okay. Don't say it. Or
No. I think you're fine.
Like if there was like a fire or some sort of emergency in our apartment and we had to get out, I sometimes like think to myself, like, okay, would we be able to survive if we had to jump from her window.
For sure.
Do you
Yeah.
think so? Okay.
I do, because I think that if you like hang from the windowsill
and then
like drop yourself off.
That's why it was the pole was really smart, because you can just kind of like
shimmy down.
Yeah,
slide down.
Do it
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Give the people a show.
Give them a show. So, anyway, apparently the Ghost Hunters team, that's like a famous show.
Yeah, Ghost Hunters.
They went to the Betsy Ross house and they tried to see like what they could experience, if there was anything there. And during the investigation, there were a lot of disembodied voices that they recorded. There was a man moaning in the basement, which of course
must be our security guard.
It's probably the security guard. Yeah, poor guy. But apparently it was like way too muffled to actually tell what he was saying. But he was moaning. And he sounded like
if
he
you
was
got
in
shot
pain.
3 times, I feel
Yeah.
like good luck trying to form coherent sentences.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope I'm not putting that out into the universe.
No. And Betsy Ross herself, obviously, not surprising, people do claim that they have seen her apparition. But I almost feel like, she's so famous, like, I don't know if she would come.
I feel like she doesn't really have like any unfinished business.
Yeah,
she lived
like
3 years.
84. She was there for only 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, of all places, I don't think she would come back there.
I don't think so either.
But
maybe, you know what? That was like the most prominent time in her life.
That's true, yeah.
So, and they do say like, if there's something that sticks with you in life.
Yeah, it's true. I know, like, her
might
husband had just died when
yeah.
she moved there, and she did the flag and whatnot.
Where do you okay, at this point in your life, if you were to die, where do you think you would haunt?
I would want to haunt my college.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, right? Wouldn't that be fun?
I would haunt Molden Hall at Villanova University, because I lived there for 2 years.
Oh yeah, you have to.
And like I rotted away in that room studying sometimes.
I would want to haunt the theater just because I think it would be funny.
That would be so funny.
But also there's like this one like spooky tower at St. Joe's, like Barbland.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be really fun to haunt.
I've changed my mind. I would actually like to haunt the engineering building at Villanova.
I gave you the best years of my life.
But it's all these like high tech gadgets, and I'd just be like walking around setting them off.
Like, yeah.
Students would be like, "Why did my 3D print fail?" And I'd be like, "It was me."
Hello. It's me. That's a good question. Where would you haunt? That's fun.
Where would you haunt?
So, whether you believe that it's truly Betsy there, people do say that they see her crying by a bed, mourning the loss of her husbands and her children.
Sad.
Really sad. I really hope that's not true, just because, I don't know. Like you said, I mean, she was so accomplished in life. I don't think she has any unfinished business or any reason.
No, I hope she's up there with her first love.
Yes,
that was like such a cute love story to me.
I know.
She was like ready to risk it all for this guy that
and she did, and she lost it all.
I know, poor little baby.
You know what they say about upholstery shops?
That's where you go to get the guys.
It's true, yeah.
They never talk about how you like meet guys after college.
Yeah.
Besides like dating apps.
We're here to tell you.
Upholstery shops.
Yeah. Like, when I walk into an upholstery shop, like 12 guys will come up to me.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah,
same. That's actually where I met my current boyfriend.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I know.
Does Zach know?
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
Well, I guess this will be a fun way for him to know.
It's okay. He'll find out eventually.
This will be a good way to test if he listens to the podcast.
You heard it here first. Go to an upholstery shop. Go get your little like dress tailored. Go get your suit tailored. Go get whatever you want.
You might just meet the man or woman or person of your dreams. I think that this was a very fun haunt. What do you think?
Is fun. I enjoyed this haunt.
The colonial haunts are fun.
I got a new like girl boss model.
I know. I really did not. All I knew about her was that she
Me too.
made the flag. That's
and
all
she
I
had
knew.
like a really cool life.
She did.
For
she
a woman back
84.
then, she was so accomplished.
She could read
For
and
a woman
write.
now, she was accomplished.
Yeah, exactly.
So, go off, Betsy Ross.
Kind of a fun little haunt.
I hope that our listeners learned that about her too, because I definitely didn't know any of this about her. And I feel like it deserves to be talked about, because she did like, she's really only talked about for like the one cool thing in her life.
One trick pony.
But she had a lot of cool things in her life.
She did. She did. Thanks,
so
Betsy.
Queen. We thank you for our dope flag.
We do have a pretty good flag.
I do kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of prefer the circle of stars.
It looks
what we have
cool.
now. We should have just put the 50 stars of
Do you ever wonder what they're going to do if they were to add another state? Like, how that's going to look so weird on the flag?
I think we're past the point of adding states, you know?
You don't think that, like, Puerto Rico or anything is ever going to be? I know it's like a territory.
I think they're going to keep it... They might keep it as a territory just, like...
Just to not have
so that
51.
we don't have to add.
Also, okay, this has nothing to do with the... it a little bit does. Remember how last week we were talking about Lum's Pond and we were talking about the Underground Railroad and stuff?
Yes.
We were going to talk about how Harriet Tubman was supposed to be on the $20 bill and what happened with that.
Yeah, what happened
She was
with
supposed
that?
to replace Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, who, by all accounts,
I was
should
like, please
be
remove
replaced.
him. Like, why is he still on there?
Oh, he makes me so angry.
Everyone voted. Like, remember, is this a memory I made up? Like, everyone voted, like, got to vote who to add to the...
What is it called?
The $20 bill?
Like the Berenstain Bears.
The Mandala?
Yes, that's it. But I don't think we made that up. Did we? In our minds? Our minds were so strongly convinced.
That I really thought she was going to be at the $20 bill, and I meant to mention it in our last episode, but I didn't.
What if we, and hear me out, replace George Washington with Betsy Ross?
I would be... You know I would be so... I can finally look at $1 bills again.
Then you can finally live in peace.
I can't even. It's actually funny because the other day, I had to deal with... I don't want to go into the story, but I had to deal with a mascot.
You what?
I had to deal with a mascot.
Okay.
For work. And they were also a huge fear of mine, if you recall. Mascots, like the suits.
Oh, yeah. Like the people in Times Square that dress up as...
Yes. And
like, I respect it. Like, get that bag, but I also stay away from me.
Though. Yeah,
stay away from me.
$20. I'm like, I don't even want
to If a headless Elsa comes up to me, I'm running in the other direction. But then, like, also...
Headless Elsa.
Times Square is a scary place.
Times Square is a really scary place.
Anyway,
that was literally so
we're not here to talk about New York, but
we are going to be doing a New York not maybe.
Oh, very soon.
It honestly might be our next episode.
Yeah, I think it will be our next episode.
I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait either. That's going to be a fun.
It's just in time for Valentine's Day.
It's a little romantic hunt.
So,
all right. Well, we will see you guys next time.
Yes.
And
thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And go Birds, I guess.
Yeah, go Birds,
right?
I guess. Sorry, any Chiefs fans. You have my support.
Also, yes.
Yes.
Have a good week, guys.
Have a better week than us. Bye!